And now, here's Madeline Lombardi with a special edition of Western Perspective at Parliament House, where she interviewed Anglicare WA CEO Mark Glasson over the McGowan government's budget response to the housing crisis.
Hello, this is Madeline Lombardi for Western Perspective. I'm here with Mark Glasson, CEO of Anglicare Western Australia. So Mark, demand for social housing and homelessness is on the rise, and current stats have revealed increased wait times for people seeking social housing in particular. After learning the state government will be investing $750 million into housing and homelessness, do you believe this will be enough to combat WA's state of living crisis?
It won't be enough to combat the crisis. It is enough to make a difference to a number of families. So we've got to put the investment into perspective. We have 19,000 or more people on the applications for social housing on the waiting list. That means nearly 40,000 people are waiting on that accommodation. This investment will not deliver anywhere near enough housing to fill that gap.
I want to know, do you think the government is combating the high construction wait time? So we know we're waiting a long time for these houses to be built at the moment as well. Do you think they're combating it correctly in this week's state budget that's been announced today?
I think what we need to be doing is to be committing to a long-term pipeline of work. What we have is a problem in Western Australia, and Australia in fact, which is many, many years in the making. You're not going to solve that problem and the scale of demand with one budget. What we were hoping for in today's budget was a commitment to a long-term funding pipeline, the establishment of a Western Australian Housing Future Fund that would allow us to commit money in perpetuity to the construction of housing. The demand for housing across Australia is the result of many years of underinvestment, and so we need to put tools in place to make sure that we don't repeat those mistakes. Our challenge to the government was to put in something that was long-term. They haven't been able to do that. If you focus on the long term, you can then increase and decrease investment according to the bumps and peaks and troughs in the cycle. But at the moment, we're in the trough, we can't get things built. No matter how much money you announce today, you will struggle to get them on the ground. If you commit to 20 years of funding that you can use as a lever to either stimulate or wind down the sector, then you've got something that will make a longer term difference.
So what you're saying is it's just almost like a short-term injection that's been happened in this budget instead of a long-term future investment plan that we want to see as the outcome.
Short-term thinking is what got us into this position. So what I want to be really clear about is that the investments that have been made will contribute housing to the stock. They will provide more housing for the people of Western Australia. Will they meet the need? No, because we have a long-term problem. So it's almost like a sugar hit. We'll get 700, 800 more houses, maybe a few thousand. If you combine all this government's commitments to housing, there's billions of dollars. And I want to acknowledge that, but it doesn't fix our long-term problem. A long-term problem needs us to think beyond the next horizon to what are we going to do in the next 20 years. As
opposed to sort of figures that we're dealing with now, looking beyond that. One thing that was spoken about today in the budget room was the energy injection that all West Australian residents would be receiving. So $400 energy relief bill to ease the cost of living, and 350,000 households who are in need will receive an $826 support payment. Do you believe this is enough for those in need, or should they receive more, is what I want to ask.
The people that are doing it really tough need more. Yeah. Okay? They need ongoing support. So what I would have liked to have seen was some sort of ongoing rent assistance to get us through the peak of this crisis that we're in. People who can't pay their rent now, people are foregoing food and medication and vehicle expenses to keep the roof over their head. Okay, and if you lose your house now, you're in a world of pain if you're facing other vulnerabilities. So what we would have preferred is to reinstate the rental relief scheme, which was brought in during the pandemic to ensure that people didn't lose their accommodation at that time. That would provide a real safety net for people. So the extra support going to families is very welcome. Is it enough to solve the issues that we're facing? It's not. Western Australia is facing a housing and cost of living crisis that we have never seen before, and that required a bold and ambitious budget, and that's not what we got.
I think what you were just saying there with that renting assist as well is something that the budget could have considered, definitely. There was a lot of talk, as what I just said there, about short injections into the budget, which will help us now as opposed to long-term future as well. Renting as well, I know that a lot of renters are too scared to even approach landlords about structural issues that are happening in their house as well. I don't know why today's budget didn't really consider the overarching effect of what it's like living as a renter within the West Australian market as well. So that's something that they could have considered.
I think our housing system is increasingly relying on private rental to keep the community housed. Okay, that's obvious right across the country, and what we're seeing is more people renting and renting for longer. When that is the case, we need to provide more assurance to renters and more protections to renters so that they aren't then subject to gouging when the market is strong as it is now. And we get to think about things like energy efficiency of rental houses. We get to think about quality of housing. We get to provision so that people can make those houses homes. So the ability to make minor changes to a property, to have a pet, the sort of things that most people in the community take for granted that aren't available to most of our renters. We need to provide protections to renters as well to make sure that if they choose to rent or if they're forced to rent, that they have some sense that this is my home.
It's these foundational issues that we need to tackle first. So thank you very much for speaking with me today. We appreciate it here on WAM News.
Thanks, Maddie. It's been a pleasure.
That was Maddie, and she will be back with us in the studio next week. And now, here's Leo Paralisi with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks, guys. On 6 News, questions about the leadership of Jeremy Rockcliffe and an early election as the now minority Tasmania Liberal government deals with 2 of its MPs quitting. Victoria Police condemn appalling scenes in Melbourne where neo-Nazis clashed with anti-racism protesters. And a Queensland woman missing in South Australia's Western Eye Peninsula for 7 days found alive. Watch live whenever you want on our YouTube channel and our website, 6newsau.com. For now, though, it is back to you.
Thanks, Leo. And that's our weekly news and current affairs, with the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. Full details on wamnnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, we wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.